Hello, today I'm going to talk about external login using Google account. We will configure our project in Google Console and activate Google Sign-In API. I'm Lars from Digiterry, let's begin. In our configuration we have already had some dummy data for our Google. We can see here client ID and client secret. Let's create a project in our Google Developers Console. So we just go to Google Developers Console. If you don't have account yet, you can just sign up. So I go to my projects and create new project. Let's name it Acme project. Then we create. Now we go to our credentials. And here we create a new credential. We say OAuth client ID. So here they say, to create an OAuth client ID, you must first set a product name. So we can click here configure contact screen. So we just say here Acme project product, for example. Save. Now we are going to create the ID for web application. Let's call it Acme and create. Now we see here our client ID and client secret. I just copy it and we can put it in our configuration. So there's spaces we don't need, and also the secret. So we save. Okay. Now we go to our Acme project and we can say here authorized redirect URLs. In our case, redirect URL is, so we can see here, we go to login, we choose Google Plus, and we can see redirect URL mismatch. So it is expecting this one. So it's localhost, Acme, web, then language, site, and so on. We say you should trust this redirect URL. So we go to our project and say here it's this one, and we say new, for example for Russian and for German. And our origin is this one. Save. So now Google service is expecting our application to send a correct redirect URL. Let's try now. So we click on Google Plus. We can see here that Google is asking which account I'm going to use. I say, for example, this one. So they say here that we created recently, but we didn't enable Google Plus API. So we go to our dashboard. Here's the dashboard. We say enable API. We choose Google Plus API. And then we say just enable. So now we can try again. And then we say login, Google Plus. I choose my account. And I can see I was redirected correctly, but our application says there is no email address provided. Let's take a look in the source code. As you remember here, this message comes when we don't have email address. Let's see what comes from Google. We say echo. We just debug it, so we say here var dump attributes and then exit, for example. Now we'll try again. Login. We choose account. So we can see here we need email address, but it comes as emails, and then it comes the array of all emails, and inside the first one we have here value. The first one is for your primary one, which we need. There is also ID we need, so it's ID, your ID in Google. and there is also not name but display name we need. So that's why it's a bit different here, but we can easily change it. So we go here and say not email, but we say here email attribute. And here we also use ID attribute, and then here name attribute. So since we are not using for Google the same email key and ID key and name key, we will switch it and using here this client name, in our case it is Google, so we say if it is Google, then we say here email address must be. So an array helper, if we give the attributes array helper just gets value for this key. But since it's a three-dimensional array, so in our case we need here not just one key but one, the second and the third key. So we can just dot separated also access this value. So we say here emails, the second key was 0 and the third key was value. So it's email attribute. And for the name attribute, we say it is display name. So we can see here, it's a display name, it's my name here. So for ID, we say in the beginning, so it's the same, that's why we don't now differentiate it. And we say here break. And default in our case, it is Facebook and Twitter. So for all others, if in the future you have another providers, so we'll just extend the case here. So we say here it's email, and here it's the name. So I just save it. So we can try now. I go back and I say localhost acme and then login. I choose the Google. I choose the account in Google and I can see I could log in. I can see the username. So I'm in. We can take a look what happens in our database. So I can see here's a new record is coming from Google. There is my ID in Google and new user was inserted as well with status 1. Let's check if we didn't break the logic for our Facebook and Twitter. I log out. But let's take a look at Facebook redirect URLs because we also need it. So as you can see here in Facebook login area and settings, we can also put a valid or redirect URLs. So we say here, as we have in our Google, we have 3 of them. We can also put here more. So we say here out client Facebook. It's for English one. Then we say here for Facebook in Russian, for example, Facebook Russian, and the same for German. So now we save it. Now let's try to log in Facebook account. You can see I have logged in. Now let's check our Twitter. So everything works perfectly. So now let's take a look at the workflow, how the process goes when we log in. When the user goes to the site login, he will land in our site controller, action login, and will get the login page. As you remember, in our login page we place 3 buttons, and there we also specified where should user be redirected when he pressed. It was a site out method in our site controller. So depending on what button he clicks, at Facebook, Twitter or Google, this out will call out action from our framework, which connects to the external service, depending on what you pressed, and will communicate with this external service using OAuth2 protocol, exchanging several information like one-time token, redirect URLs, and so on. External service will return the attributes of the user. Out action puts all these attributes in a client and send it to on-out success. As you remember, in our callback success, we are redirecting and sending the client, which is Facebook or Twitter or Google, and this on-out success, sending this client to out handler PHP, it's our component, where we parse attributes and connect to user PHP, our model, which saves or updates the user. And as you remember, it returns true. The user will be successfully logged in. That's all for this time. We have configured our project and added needed components to perform external login for 3 providers: Facebook, Twitter, and Google. In the next videos, we will cover other project use cases. Thanks for watching. I wish you much fun with coding and good luck.